So, this master we have been talking about, he comes to another question. He is asking the question. You see that you remove all the doubts and ultimately you find that you are the real self. That is the beauty of this journey. So, here the master says, oh, you always say your experience is superior. Your experience is superior and logic or reason is not superior. So let us discuss, let us understand whether the experience is superior or logic is superior. Tell me, mirage water is your experience. Is it superior? Is it your experience? I do not apply reasoning for clarity. Whether my experience of mirage water is real or not. Look at it. Let us expand this. Experience of mirage water is a reality. No, this is my experience. But it is incomplete knowledge. Why it is incomplete knowledge? I did not apply the reason. In the presence of the incomplete knowledge, I claim that I have a real experience of mirage water. I'm directly going into this reasoning and experience. Why I'm saying so? Oh, so is the case of experience of hatred, jealousy, attraction, attachment, aversion. They are not more than mirage water. Once we understand it clearly, it goes into my head. Then I will never say I hate this guy or someone hates you or even someone hates you, you are happy. You have to listen the preamble of this. This is a very important lesson. So our question is experience superior or logic is superior? And I have already given one example. Mirage water, I experience this. Is it superior? Answer is no. It is absence of the logic makes me feel that mirage water is real. So now I'm relating it to the same way. My experience of hatred, jealousy, attachment, detachment are like a mirage water. We have to reach to that point of understanding. What is that understanding? That understanding is the knowledge, that understanding is awareness, that understanding is consciousness, that understanding is experience. We are already with real self. Keep a smile on the face, don't be so serious. We are getting, I hate you, I love you, it is my experience. You see that? Only reason, I don't apply the reasoning. Before I say I hate you, I love you, let me apply the reason, let me understand it. Whether this experience is real or not. And if you falsify this experience, you are happy. You drop it. Now what this master is saying. And then we will go and understand this. This master is saying, then what is the reality? I experience your presence is a fact. That is what we understand, it is a fact. You experience my presence and I experience your presence. Master says, no, you are false. You only experience consciousness. Forget about it. I experience you, we say yes. You experience me, yes, you say yes. Master says it is wrong. It is wrong notion. It is incomplete knowledge. You only experience consciousness. You are telling a lie. Only a seeker dares to listen to this. So we will apply the reason to see whether when I say I experience you with the name and the form is real, or it is like a mirage water. What happens? Then it takes me to a state of mindfulness all the time, 24/7. Do you see that? This question is very, very important. Or you can start the question in a different way. How experiences of attachment, detachment, hatred, jealousy, aversion are false and misleading. We are not saying it is misleading. Relationship, now understand the relationship between reason, logic, and the experience. I've already given a starting point. Experience gives me a valuable subjective insight. Experience is subjective, but it can also be misleading. I have to raise a doubt. Whatever I experience, I have to raise a doubt. If I don't dare to raise a doubt, it means I'm living in ignorance. Simple. I have to authenticate is this experience real or not? I think mirage water experience is enough to understand that. So how to validate? I have to apply the reason. That is the relationship between reason and experience. Anytime, anywhere, I have a pain. It is your subjective experience. Apply the reason. Now I hate this guy. Apply the reason. Apply the reason. Reason alone has limits now. Now we have to understand. Reason has pure logic struggles to capture the fullness of experience. That is the drawback of the reason. And every experience is not the real experience. Every experience has limitation. Now start living your life. Inquire. Why to inquire? Why to inquire? I don't apply the reason with every experience. There is a cognitive distortion, which you can say incomplete information, incomplete knowledge, the wrong notion. So I experience based on the wrong notion. I carry forward that wrong notion in my life. I hate this guy, because he said this and he said this. And ultimately we continue to live in the cocoon in our small shell. And we never get out of it. And that is how we build our relationship all the time. What a crazy stuff that we have been doing. We have to be very careful not to deny the real feeling and experience in ourselves. At the same time, the reasoning that must be applied to an experience. So there must be a balance between the two. That is the journey of self-inquiry. That is what we say self-inquiry is. I believe you all are paying attention. What a beautiful sound it is. No, it has gone. So now ask yourself why meditation is required. We have understood balance is required. Reason helps me intellectually understand the limits of my experiences. I see the limitation. How simple example, I have a headache. Apply the reason. Do you have a headache or head as a headache? You are not the head. When I don't apply the reason, I get, my honey is crazy. No. Honey is a secondary label. No. Instantly your reason comes to rescue you, to create any conflict in your relationship, and you analyze your experiences. You are happy. That is the beauty of the That is why we have to do the mindfulness. That is one way to understand it. So it means the reason and the experience both have a value but also has a limitation. So I must use the value, recognizing their limitation. Seeking balance and integration of the experience and the reason is crucial on the path of awakening. So, meditation practice is required. Where we get away with all the thoughts, we want to transcend all the thoughts. And we also continue to transcend all the experiences until a final experience that is unchanging returns. And what is that experience? Consciousness. That is my real self. I have found it. Eureka. That is why it takes time. It is a slow and steady journey. And that is why we say self-inquiry. This master says you need not to practice anything. The time comes, once you are clear, you have understood the limitation of your experience, you have understood the limitations of your logic, you have understood the limitations of the logic, bye-bye. You have understood the limitations of your experience, bye-bye. And you are settled into consciousness. How? What is the ultimate? Do you experience me? No. False. You have to inquire. What do you experience? Only consciousness. Fact, that is the reality of the life. We only experience consciousness. We don't experience object. I'm just laying a foundation for the verse this master is talking about, whether the experience is superior or no. Sometimes we feel, I'm superior. The moment I say I'm superior to you, I know more than you, you know more than me. It doesn't work that. In the journey of, so we need a compassion, we need a kindness, we need to listen, we need to have an open mind. And that is the journey of the self-inquiry. The self-inquiry means self-knowledge and realizing the real self of the nature of peace, love, wisdom to end suffering. So the master gives us the conclusion. That is the conclusion. What is the goal of entire journey of Eastern wisdom? Bring an end to the suffering and ultimately awaken to the real self. So self-inquiry is one of the most important practice. It is applied in Patanjali Yoga Sutra, it is applied in Hatha Yoga practices, it is applied anywhere and everywhere. Whenever the word yoga is used, it is applied. Otherwise, what will happen? I do headstand pose and I enjoy blood rushes. I'm not looking for blood should rush to my forehead. I'm looking for my awakening. And there is always a possibility that if the blood rushes more into certain nerves and you are gone. There have been many cases. So you see that? Do you see? Limitation. I have to apply. I have to apply. If I don't apply, I fall back. So self-inquiry means it's a deep inquiry into the nature of I am. Who am I? What is my true identity? If there is any identity that is changing, that has been replaced, I'm married, I'm a husband, I divorced, I'm ex-husband. My status has changed. No, I'm not. I'm none of them. I'm giving you one example. I have a pain. Yesterday I did not have a pain. Today I have a pain. Tomorrow I will not have it. No. It means I'm not the body. So by reason, I use that reason to negate. And ultimately I find, who am I? Pay attention. Once you live into that experience that I don't experience you, I experience consciousness. Through the consciousness going into the mind, I experience you as an object of name and form. Yes, I can agree to that. Self-inquiry is required. So what happens? Why we practice meditation? Because the reason contains a very subtle ego. So the experience also contains the subtle ego. So we transcend both. That is why we practice meditation. That is the goal of meditation. Think of that. We say, oh, I feel so relaxed and calm. Yes, it is okay. That is important. That is important, no doubt. But the main goal is, so now ask yourself, why self-inquiry? I'm putting a reason. Why self-inquiry? It shifts my attention inward. My mind is scattered in millions of directions because of the past impression already living in my mind, which pertains to the people, relationship, objects, childhood, adulthood, seniors. No, there is no senior. I'm also not senior. So I'm also young. So young, and oh, you see that? Yes. Self-inquiry is required to shift my attention inward. I need not to force my mind. I have to do the self-inquiry. Self-inquiry turns my attention 180 degree inward. Provided I do the self-inquiry, I follow the teachings of the masters. Not my way. It's not your way, not my way. Not the teacher's way. Not the seeker's way. It is the way the knowledge works. It is the way the physics works. It is the way the chemistry works. It dissolves your ego. Greater the self-inquiry, deeper the self-inquiry, the ego or the sense of I is the biggest obstacle to enlightenment. So self-inquiry examines and dismantles the illusory ego self. That is why we say you have to listen to the teacher. I will come to that. Why you have to listen to the teacher? You have to be very clear. It's not because the teacher has a big ego and he knows more than you. No. No, not at all. So what happens by this self-inquiry? Gradually you understand, and slowly it drops the identification with the mind. Now every identification with the mind, now you realize it is an objective level. It is not subjective. Oh, it separates the real self from the chatter of the mind. That is why I need a self-inquiry. It reveals the false assumption I have been living with. Self-inquiry is required. It resolves the duality. I have a duality in my mind. The sense of separate self and others is a result of ignorance. Many reasons I can give you. It is liberating. We have been stressed due to false, unreal experiences based on the false assumption, and more you go into the self-inquiry, you drop it. This experience is not mine. Why I'm worried about it? Why I have a hatred against someone? Is it really required? It is a direct path. Before I go understand that, who is qualified to do the self-inquiry? I have repeated a couple of times, a sincere seeker, consistent, regular study, until you reach to that permanent state. You experience permanent happiness. Your reason validates it. Do you see that it has nothing to do with the belief? It has nothing to do with religion. It has nothing to do with cult and dogma and belief. It is totally independent. Knowledge is independent. So that is why we use the word, I have to transition from a person to a seeker. I should have a very strong, innate desire to know the real self. So to know the real self means I am a seeker and I am a spiritual. Normally we have a fashion, I'm not religious, I'm a spiritual. There is no change in lifestyle. There is no change in behavior. I am born Christian, so that is why I left Christianity. But I'm still moving towards Buddhism. It doesn't work that way. Dennis knows what I'm saying. We have to be very open-minded. Open-minded. In Dennis group, a couple of people are very much bent towards the Buddhist. So an ability to turn attention inward through different practices, including the meditation, aids and helps the self-inquiry. I must have that ability. I must have that introspective awareness cultivated by these practices of mantra and breathing, etc., etc. Mental calm and emotional maturity is required to be a seeker. If I don't have the mental and emotional maturity, forget about it. So seeker has the mental and the emotional maturity. Otherwise, you will talk of, I saw namaste on Instagram. What I have to do with Instagram? I have to do with, when I don't become tough, there is no need. Because if you are a non-seeker, then obviously you can continue doing the gossip like this. It doesn't work. So that is why we say we don't require a judgment, we require a discernment and dispassion, patience. Patience is required in this journey. So when you collect all these qualities in the life of a seeker, that is known as the faith. Tell me, it is blind faith? It is not a blind faith. You apply the reason with a certain limitation. You don't distort the reason. How you distort the reason? You go beyond, you cross the limitations of the reason. I saw namaste on Instagram. So what should I say? What should I say? You have been studying for so long and you are asking this question. No, I'm just giving. I have no aversion to anyone. Now come to another, I will take up in two parts. So why the self-inquiry needs to be done with a teacher. You avoid the pitfalls. So if you take in a healthy manner, now forget about Instagram. We will talk about Namaste. So the teacher reminds you out of humility, not criticizing you. But as a seeker, you understand that no, teacher is not criticizing me. He says, I have deviated, let me return back. That is why we need a teacher, a tailored guidance. That's what I learned from my master. My master, the moment I am sitting there, he personalizes the teaching. The teacher can adapt and modify the self-inquiry process based on the unique personality tendencies, or you can say the tendencies we all have present. How the teacher knows your tendencies, the way you share your experiences. You only share your experiences, but teacher can go very deep inside. Why it can go deep inside? The way my teacher has told me and made me understand. I can go easily. Your experience, I can find out the reference point from which center of the mind you are talking. Motivation. The process takes time and a patience. A teacher motivates the seeker to keep going until you reach to the self-inquiry. Well, sometimes we get frustrated. How long? Discipline. Teacher. Verification. Teacher helps to test and verify the authenticity of your realization. You see, we are talking of experience is superior or reason is superior. So your mind may give a false reasoning and you say this is it. So majority of the people leave the journey because they reason. But their reasoning has gone across the limitation. That is why we need a teacher. That is why we have master and a disciple, master and a teacher, master and a seeker tradition. Do you remember the metaphor? Infinite space. Infinite space. He is still explaining the same metaphor. That is the beauty. I have just discussed in detail, but he is still talking the same metaphor. Or I can say he is talking with reference to the same metaphor, my friends. So what is that metaphor? The infinite space. Infinite, all-pervading space means there is no space left where there is no space. So it is singular, it is undivided consciousness. The same way our consciousness is undivided, unlimited, it is infinite, that is me. But I don't experience it. So I have to start with the reasoning and come to experience. At the same time, I have to help you drop the false experiences. You feel you are limited, wrong. But our experience and the logic reasoning should go together. It should validate. Not only it should validate during the journey of the self-inquiry, it should validate 24/7. That is what the awakening is. So in the first part of the metaphor, he says there is an infinite space, and then he says there is the enclosed space. That is the enclosed space, the real self, the pot space. Pot space. This represents the consciousness reflected in the body, but it is the same space, so to say, reflected in the pot. And the third is, if you put the water into that pot space, it becomes the water space. The way I put the body-mind complex, I am husband and I'm wife, I'm daughter, I'm good and I'm bad, I hate and love, all those attachment and aversion is filled into the pot space. But the pot space doesn't change. What changes? I hate you today, tomorrow I love you. I'm sorry. Yesterday you were simply a boy and a girl, and tomorrow you become a soulmate and a soulmate. That is, I fill something into the pot space. That is the reason, you just put the reason and you will find out. Terry, when I met you, you were just like a bubbling like a girl. You took me to your office, maybe 15th floor, I don't remember. But anyhow, on the skyscraper. Now it is difficult. It has changed. That is not you. Neither you were that, nor you are this. You are consciousness. It is the pot space. You have filled something with it. And the same way, the way the water is filled into the pots, the same way, in that infinite space, the entire world is filled up. That too is false. That is why I see consciousness, I don't see you. We will arrive to that, It takes a couple of sessions more. You see that? So this is the metaphor. The endless space that contains all the galaxies in the universe, no limits, boundaries to this space. The pervasive space that exists both within and without all manifestations It is not confined or divided in any way. What it means? What I said. I said the space inside my house is space outside the house. Light is there. When the light is there, all the articles are reflected in that light. Now you empty this room, light is still there. So the consciousness is always there. It can recognize the object if it is placed in presence of the consciousness. If it is not placed, it will not, there is no recognition at all, but consciousness is there. That consciousness is always there. One all-pervading consciousness is there. And then the second metaphor is that a pot space within the pot, the finite space contained within a clay pot. The walls of the pot limit and enclose the space within. It appears it has enclosed the space inside one's body, which hosts the vital energies, organs, etc. The space seems separate due to the limiting container of the physical body. Because I always talk with reference to the body. I don't talk with reference to the consciousness. Body is not conscious. Body is inert matter. But I hardly talk with reference to the consciousness, and that is why I say, no, I am limited. How do you say I am limited? I am here, I am not there. In few hours I will be at David Jerry's home. But at present I am not here, so I am talking with reference to the body. I am not talking with reference to the space. Oh, so there is a problem. I have put the logic, but now there is a problem of experience. That is why I have to understand. That is why I have to continue the journey. That is why I have to continue the journey. So then the third way, the space reflected in the water. Now I put the water into the space that appears to be captured within the water. What happens? The reflection makes the space limited. That very reflection in the water, the space reflected in the surface of the mind, which creates an appearance of the thoughts. I am here, you are there, I have this emotion, you have this emotion. Fact is not. Fact is too far from my experience. My experience is a mirage water. I am one consciousness. Whatever is changing, what changed in 2007, I again repeating, I met Terry, and now nothing has changed. I see through the lens of the body that I have changed. I see through the lens of the mind that I have changed. That is why I feel limitedness. Because of the limitations, it creates a false notion. It creates a lot of limitations. It creates an anxiety, duality, and a conflict. And then we come to the cloud space, the space that seems to be divided up within you can say, within fluffy cloud formations in the sky. Oh, the sky is overcrowded with the clouds. How do you know in the presence of the sunlight? Consciousness is still there. In every activity, in every object, the consciousness is still there. Without that consciousness, nothing can exist. Another point I will deal with today is a very, very important point. I dealt in a different way. What I said, that I experience the consciousness, I don't experience you, he, me, she, object. No, I only experience consciousness. So there is another way to understand it. Do you see that? We stick on the same principle. How do you say that? You can, yes, there is a knowledge of an object, and there is a knowledge of the self. There is a knowledge of the mouse which is in front of me, and there is a knowledge of the self, knowledge of the object. So when I say you that I see you, you are an object of my mind. But when I say knowledge of a self, that knowledge of the self cannot become the object. Cannot become the object. No way. If it becomes the object, it means that now I say, for example, that Stephen is there. So I see that Stephen is me. So who is looking at me? Then there are two. Knowledge of a self cannot become an object. So the knowledge of an object is totally different from the knowledge of the self. I have to get rid of this hypnotic spell that this mind has all the time. All the time. And that is what the ignorance is, that is what the delusion is. Knowledge about historical events, objective knowledge. Understanding science concept, objective knowledge. Information about places, on objective knowledge. Knowledge of skills, systems and processes, objective knowledge. Knowledge of the object is about something. Empirical fact, data, theories, concepts, outside. Self-knowledge, on the other hand, refers to subjective awareness. It is telling about the nature of one's real self. What is the nature of the real self? It is consciousness. How to know that? So I have to understand components of my subjective experiences. How can I understand my subjective experiences? By what are my subjective experiences? Are my thoughts, my emotions, my perception. And there I reason what is permanent and what is temporary. I filter out what is temporary, what is left is the consciousness. I don't see the consciousness, but I experience. It is my subjective experience. I have an insight into the nature of the consciousness rather than the content of the consciousness. Rather than, I don't object. Object is lost. So when object is lost, there is an objectless state of the mind. In that objectless state of the mind, which is known as the mindfulness, it is always there with you. Once you understand that, it is always there with you. You are talking, yes, even it is there. It is not affected. How the space can be affected by anything? Space is not affected. We had the 9/11. Space remains the same. Skyscraper is gone. And we built another 9/11. We built another Twin Tower. Direct experiential knowledge is compulsory to have a self-knowledge. But without reasoning, I cannot filter out the false assumptions, wrong notions in my life. But to get rid of those false notions, I should have a state of mind that is full of kindness, calmness, relaxation. Then only I can do the self-inquiry. So when we talk of the value system, it is because of this. Otherwise, we don't talk the way religion talks of the morality plus hypocrisy. We don't talk about it. But yes, it is required. It is required. It is definitely required. Knowledge about you, me. The moment I say knowledge about you, he, she, it, object, place, location, it is objective. Knowledge about me. I have to become aware. I have to apply the reason. Where? Where? That's what I used to say. How long it takes you to reach to yourself? How long it takes to reach to your house? Time and space. How long it takes you to reach to yourself? You are already there. You don't need time and space. It is your subjective experience. Here I am. But if you take time to answer the question, you are caught into the false assumption and wrong notions. You are here and now. Last point today. We'll continue with that journey. Last point, or I should? Yes. Well, yes, let me explain this fact the same way. The object of knowledge refers to the thing like flower, home, person, relationship. The subject of knowledge is the, something coming to your mind, is the knower, the consciousness in which the knowledge of the object takes place. Again, I am repeating. Knowledge of an object refers, I know you, you know me, I know the house, I know the country, and all the objects. But the knowledge of the real self is the knower. Knowledge of an object is the known. It is objective reality. I am talking of subjective reality whenever I want to know the real self. What it means? It simply means the knowledge of the real self is the knower. What is that knower? Knower has to be consciousness in which the knowledge of the object takes place. In the object, knowledge does not take place here of the mouse. Knowledge does not take place in the body. Knowledge takes place in the consciousness. Not when I say I know Stephen, the knowledge did not take place in the Stephen. Knowledge takes place in the knower. Knower is consciousness. Knowledge of an object, which is Stephen, takes place in the conscious. Knowledge of the Terry, which is an object taking place in the consciousness. And where the knowledge is taking place, that is the real I. That is pure consciousness. That is absolute reality. I don't want to confuse you. Close your eyes. We will continue step by step. Eyes are closed. Eyes are closed. Eyes are closed. You know I. Eyes are closed. Eyes are object. Knowledge is taking place in you. So you, that where the knowledge is taking place is the real you. I is an object. So the way the mouse is an object, I is in an object. When you live with that awareness, you already feel comfortable. You need not to worry about it. No, but I have to move my body. Oh yes, move your body. Moving the body is objective knowledge. But where the knowledge is taking place? In you. Who is you? Consciousness. You see, that is why we don't need judgment, we need discernment. Now, just follow the same logic and plus experience, being comfortable. How did I explain to you? Look at the neck joint. Are you aware of object? Yes. Is the neck joint aware of you, or you are aware of the neck joint? How simple. That is the logic we are putting. We are contemplating and reflecting. How do you say that neck joint is aware of me? It is not possible. Finished. Oh, that awareness is me. So why I say it is my neck joint? That is the delusion. So I feel the pain in the neck joint, so I say I have a neck pain. So I is added there. but I is somewhere deep inside. That I is consciousness. So I falsified the experience. I falsified the experience like a mirage water by reasoning, by understanding. Yes, shoulder joints. You see that now with the same being comfortable, I'm using the same, but you have an insight into it. Why you have an insight? Because you understood the principles. You have understood the falsity. If experience is not understood with the reasoning, it may cheat you. If the logic goes overboard, you have a distorted perception in your life. You live in ignorance. Shoulder joints, you are aware it is an object. Yes, I know that I is awareness. Shoulder joint doesn't know you. Be 100% clear. Logic makes me clear. And it is also clear shoulder joints doesn't know me. Shoulder joint is not me. It is separated from me. What other logic, what other experience you need? And that is why we have been teaching the impurities of the mind is attachment, detachment, jealousy, duality, conflict, etc., etc., long list. That is why we are teaching. Now you see, normally we do not, our mind does not make connection to this. Why you are talking of attachment and detachment? You just talk directly to the real self. No, I cannot talk. Because of your level of awareness. That is why we have set today's session. Okay, then the entire body, move the mind, and the entire body, mind. I know the mind is object, and in the mind I experience the body, that is another object. In that object I have an experience in the mind, sensation, comfort, and steadiness. They all are objects. I know all objects, and that I is consciousness. That I is consciousness, my friend. So what? So what? Be carefree. You already know. These two are my eternal steps in every meditation. Oh, be carefree. So you always said that thoughts are coming and going. You know the thoughts, yes. No thought knows you. You know every thought. You miss some thought because of ignorance, because of distorted perception, because your mind is paying attention, constant, is obsessive of one thought. That obsession is attachment. Another obsession may be aversion. Why you are chasing the thought? Because you are chasing the object in order to know yourself. But you know everything. That you is consciousness. Rest of the thoughts are objects. Hence, let the thought come, let the thought go. But these thoughts do not go so easily. Why? That is why you have to learn, hammer the delusion. That is why you need to learn what is attachment and detachment. That is why you need to learn what is conflict. That is why you need to learn what is delusion. That is why you need to learn what is anger, anxiety, duality. That is why you need to learn discernment and discretion. You have understood the previous talk in the discussion, on the basis of that talk and discussion, you are still contemplating and reflecting. Simultaneously, you undergo a change in your experience, and that change in the experience means, now what is change in experience? You falsified the mirage water. What is your experience? Emptiness. That is why Buddha says it is emptiness in mindfulness. Not because I have to force myself to empty the mind. Not possible. Mind is thought. Thought is mind. Thought is mind. Mind is thought, yes. And mind is an object. We have just understood clearly. Oh, that yes, we have understood mind is an object. So whatever the content of the mind will also be an object. Oh, but then if that is an object, and where there is an object, there cannot be a consciousness. And where there is a consciousness, there I am. Who am I? I am pure consciousness. You can say I am the real self. Do I need to say it? It's a language. I am expressing in language. Do you need to say it? Mirage water falsified. Do I need to say that I still exist? Experience is gone. I falsified that experience. I continues to exist. There is a continuity. My friend, there is a continuity. Anger, gone. There is a continuity. Anxiety, there is a continuity. Where is the false notion I have because I don't contemplate and reflect? I was in anxiety yesterday. I've been suffering from anxiety for the last 10 years. You don't understand my problem. Look at the beauty of this master. Even blow your mind is a very small word, phrase when we understand this. Now, can I ask, what are you doing? When the mirage water is falsified, what you are doing? You are doing nothing. So what is that state of doing? You are doing nothing. You are consciousness. You experience your experience of not doing anything. Ego is not there. As long as you have an identification of doing something, or even no, I have made lot of effort not to do anything. That is also ego. I'm sticking to only the so-called the 2 steps so that your mind remember as such there is no steps. That infinite all-pervading consciousness is always available. Being comfortable, now the entire scenario appears before the mind Before the intellect, you understand the reason why the mirage water is false. So now I'm saying being comfortable, parts of the body, experience of sensation, relaxation, and steadiness, mind moved from moving the body to a steadiness. Everything is object happening in the field of the knower. That knower is consciousness, and I am consciousness. I can explain it in hundreds of ways. I said so in a different way, but clearly. I still see the mirage water, but internally I know it is false. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Bring your mind on the right hand. You're still aware everything happening in the objective field. At the same time, you know who is knowing the object. So you continue to live into the state. Even my language says that come back. Move the mind on the left hand. Lift your both of arms. Place it on your eyes. Open the eyes inside the palms. Know your experiences. Bring the hands down. You see, again, the false delusion has come to my mind for a while. Sam has sent a text message to Jerry and me together. What it says that I will not be on the call. I will reflect it later. So I thought Jerry's sent me the text message. Oh no, I have to maintain my awareness. How simple it is. So don't get swayed. Don't get carried away by your experiences. Are you, Stephen?
I'm good. Thank you very much.
Thank
Um, this was a lot.
you.
Um,
Yes, it is a lot.
there's a lot in there. During the lesson, I mean, my mind was so busy with um, nothing outside, just understanding the
Understanding.
balance between reasoning and experience and the object and the other influences of our perception in looking at objects and so on and so forth. And this was what was going on in my mind. It was just going back and forth between it. And um, at some point during the whole lesson, I basically I came to the conclusion, which you on the last part said it. I said, so if everything that goes on around me is objective, you know, the objectiveness of the object part of this whole thing. I said, does that mean that the real self is the only thing that's subjective? And
Yes.
then that's what you said at the end there. So I was
Yep.
like, I had this final sense of relief at
Yes.
that
Yes.
moment, and I just I let it all go. And when I closed my eyes, I just was in a space that again started flip flopping back and forth. That am I supposed to be in an infinite space? Am I supposed to be in a space inside myself? And if I'm in a space
Yes.
inside myself,
Yes.
then I'm limiting it. And I was like, okay, stop. And here I am.
Stephen,
So thank you.
it is better to juggle around these thoughts rather than entering into unwanted, unnecessary anxiety, hatred, attachment, aversion. It will clear the false, it will falsify. I'll give you another definition of the ignorance. You said only one thing that is the real subjective, that is the real self. Remember this, and you'll always be there. How are you, David?
Thank you, sir. Yeah, kind of similar to Stephen's. The message today or the lesson today was just like um, filled with all kinds of materials to be reflecting on, and I was kind of going back and forth too. So was that experience? What? So where? You know, I experience something, then I apply logic to it. How do I know the logic is right to apply to it? So then I go, well, I got to contemplate and reflect on it, and it was just going around and around, but it led to a very deep,
Yeah,
peaceful
yeah.
observation. So thank you.
Very good. Yeah, you go back and forth. This is my experience. Let me see. Let me screen through my reasoning. Or reasoning doesn't fit there. Let me drop the experience. Let me go to the logic. No, no, logic doesn't fit here. Return to the experience. And gradually you go back and forth and you reveal yourself. There is a revelation that you are into that state of awareness. That is what happens. That is why majority of our great masters says mindfulness or meditation is a non-practice. Huh, Brandy? Now, did I prove it? No, first Jerry.
Thank you, sir. The mind is very content with all of that knowledge. It's like I like the shoulder analogy.
Yeah,
I'm aware of the shoulder. Consciousness knows the shoulder, but the shoulder doesn't know
does not
consciousness.
know.
And then consciousness also sees that the shoulder sends the mind a message, and they have this communication, but it doesn't have anything to do with consciousness.
Yes.
And consciousness, if there's anything that is limiting, then we know it's not conscious. Like if we feel limited, we don't feel liberated, then we know that we're in delusion. And David and I were having a discussion last night. It's kind of like if somebody says, "How old are you?" Well, they're talking about this mind body complex
Yes,
then,
yes.
because we're talking.
Yes, yes, you're right. You're right. You see that I have a shoulder pain. So from where this comes? Mind. Mind is object. Shoulder is object. Shoulder pain is object. But I is common in that. What is that I? Is consciousness. I don't need a practice. But I mix up. I have a shoulder pain. I am a shoulder. Obviously, I'm living in ignorance. and that this example we can apply in any area of any working of the mind. How are you, Brandy? Now tell me, is it non-practice or is it practice?
I'm gonna turn timeless on my next birthday. I'm sure you. That's gonna be my new answer. I know I was nodding because during my meditation, I found myself trying to create some kind of separation between my thoughts and my existence, and then I just was like, why are you create? What are you doing? Just be. And then you said you're doing nothing, and I'm like, exactly.
Yeah.
Right. I don't have to be involved in that space between mind stuff and my existence.
Yeah.
And it's that's a reminder, that comes to me a lot, especially in Saturday practice, because I like to get in there and get involved. It's not necessary.
You say we don't get involved. We do the self-inquiry when I experience pain, I experience suffering, I experience anxiety. That is an experience. I cannot deny that experience, but by understanding, I put the logic. Where is in your experience of anxiety? Where you have? Now it is gone. I am not into anxiety. Mine, be at peace, this will also pass. Finished. My master used to make a big statement. And that is why I put on this today's book also in the front. How are you, Dennis? Thank you, Dennis, editing the book. You see that I have to remember the contribution. Dennis contributed, edited the book, and put it on the Amazon. Yes, Dennis.
Thank you. Again, like in other Saturday sessions, I've written almost a page of statements to contemplate and reflect on. During the meditation, it occurred to me that all thoughts exist because of consciousness, but they have no consciousness of their own.
Beautiful.
Just as any other object can be falsified by logic or reasoning, the thoughts the same way, they also can be falsified. So that's one of the ways to detach from the thoughts.
Beautiful way.
To understand that they have no existence of their own. They have no consciousness of their own.
Yes. So now the thought says, Terry, I have a terrible problem. It is a thought. Thought does not have a consciousness. It is not valid. So you are not worthy of suffering. So simple. And when we take up the Gita, that is the first chapter is all about this. You are not worthy of suffering. The moment you claim you are worthy of suffering, you are crazy. How are you, Terry? Terry is still thinking.
No, I'm not thinking because I only got 3 hours of sleep.
Okay.
So,
that is thinking.
but I listened to last Saturday or the recording.
Yeah.
Last night, and I there was something I couldn't understand.
You have to listen to it again. No worries.
Yeah.
Listen to it again.
But I think today it was the same message, and I understood it just fine. So I had nothing to say.
Lesson is the same, metaphor is the same, but we are moving from subtle to subtler to subtler to subtler to the subtlest. And what is the subtlest? It is consciousness. You cannot have a subtlest thought.
I had to simply accept it.
You simply accept. Don't accept without reasoning. It will fall. Yes, then you have a wrong experience.
I better sleep
You better
then what do you say?
first sleep and then read.